Thanks so much for tuning in to the Trade Setup with me, Niraj Shah. And is it back to basics? That's the question I ask. Well, on our trade setup, it's back to basics because I'm starting off with the global news flow. And Prime Minister Modi elected the NDA leader. The world leaders across the world have congratulated the victory. It's a big thing. Third term in a row for PM Modi to return as the Prime Minister. And across the board, when you see all the world leaders congratulating him, it's a big thing. For me, at least. Nvidia has topped the $3 trillion mark in value. It's leapfrog past Apple, and Nvidia's uptick led to the S&P 500 and Dow and the Nasdaq also having a very good rally. In fact, it was the 25th record this year for the S&P 500 as tech stocks led by Nvidia and even Apple, by the way, soared in trade. Asian stocks have risen after the US peers hit the fresh record highs as well. And you know, amongst other things, I think on oil and gas, there is a lot of developments that is happening. And in terms of opinion, there's so much of brouhaha around what will happen to the fiscal policy, etc. BlackRock, none less. But BlackRock has stayed bullish on Indian bonds post the verdict. Coming in, they've brushed aside populism concerns and believes that Indian bonds are attractive at the current juncture. Well, there's a JP Morgan bond index inclusion underway as well in the month of June. Plus the RBI dividend that had come in gives that extra ammo. I would reckon that all of this could make Indian bonds very interesting in the medium term. Now, this is what the US markets did overnight. About 2% for the Nasdaq, Dow Jones to about 0.25%. And I think most of the Asian screen that I saw, ignore Shanghai and Hang Seng, they are different kettles of fish, but Nikkei, Kospi, Straits Times, etc., ASX, all had some tinges of green to themselves. At least larger set of markets were in the green. The implied open should come up on your screen. A flattish one because we had a really rocking rally in trade yesterday. I mean, just the kind of move that took us past Friday's close. Friday we were circa 22,500. We are at 22,642 for the Nifty at close yesterday, and this just shows the kind of up move that happened. We erased all of the losses that had happened in that bloodbath in Tuesday's session. So what's the trade setup therefore? To my mind, back to basics trade is likely with the bias tilted towards the upside. You know, look at indicators and they tell you that we are not positioned from a positioning perspective at a very heavy level which could take us down very convincingly currently. So that's to be kept in mind. PSUs may stay selectively on sidelines based on whether they are linked to policies or otherwise. I mean, if you just looked at the moves in some of the stocks yesterday, look at the top 4 losers yesterday on the BSE 500. Bharat Dynamics was down 9%, GRSE was down 7%. It's a negative tick, by the way, excuse us for not having that negative tick here, but all of these stocks were down. So GRSE was down 7%, Cochin Shipyard was down 7%, Titagarh was down 6.44%. Now, these stocks were lower. As against that, some of the stocks which saw the biggest intraday reversals were stocks like Jupiter Wagons, 3.5%. The low was 450. The stock ended at 542, but Titagarh Rail didn't. Mazgon Dock up 4.5%, whereas GRSE and Cochin Shipyard didn't. HUDCO up about 1.46%, strong intraday reversal. Adani Ports, Adani Total Gas, I mean, Prestige Estates, a clutch of these stocks had some very strong intraday moves. Just shows you that the market probably a bit undecided about where it wants to place the bets currently. What seems to be in focus today, though, is oil and gas. And it's focused on regulatory as well as pricing moves. And why regulatory? I will tell you closer to the end of the trade setup or in between the stocks to watch piece, because I think Gujarat Gas, Mahanagar Gas, IGL, all of this come firmly in focus, and we'll get to that in a moment. Just wanted to mark the fund flows before we move ahead. FIs sold 5656 crores worth of shares. DIs bought about 4,500 crores worth of shares. Okay, stocks to watch. I'll start off with IEX. That's the first one on my list today. The total monthly volume up 29%. Real-time volumes actually up 38% if I'm not wrong. Yes, indeed. In real-time market, up about 38%. The smaller subsets actually had even stronger growth. Green market achieved growth of 74%. And the REC or the renewable energy certificate volumes were up 640% YOY. IEX was up 8% because the rising tide yesterday lifted all boats. Don't be surprised if there is more today. Century Textiles could certainly have more today. It was down yesterday, but Birla Estates has entered into a JV with Balmoral India. This JV is for a project in Gurugram. The total value, gross developable value of the project potential has about 5,000 crores of revenue potential. This is big, even for a Century Textiles, by the way, and therefore the stock may well react positively, so watch out for this one. Then Torrent is the next one on my list, has entered into a non-exclusive patent licensing agreement with Takeda Pharmaceuticals. This is for commercializing novel gastrointestinal drug, which is vonoprazan in India. Remember, in FY22, Ingravia had launched vonoprazan intermediates at a commercial scale. It had won a CDMO contract from Takeda. The market size of this drug is 8,000 crores, the total market. Now, how much can Torrent get as a result of it, and all of that is a different kettle of fish. We'll try and get it from the management. Difficult to gauge really, but it certainly keeps Torrent in focus today, so watch out for this one. Now, the oil and gas names, if we can just get them first. So MGL, IGL, Gujarat Gas, to my mind, are in focus today. PNGRB has notified a new set of guidelines for city gas distributors, and in that they mentioned that they've withdrawn the September 21 notices that declared the marketing exclusivity period. Effectively, they were given a marketing exclusivity. Then in September 21, they had put out a notice saying that this exclusivity will only be for a limited period of time. Then there were litigations, etc., about for how long does it stay, etc. Now, PNGRB has withdrawn, the new set of guidelines has withdrawn that exclusivity notice. And therefore, that means that this will help, at least the city view is that this will help the companies with the ongoing litigations. The new guidelines enables PNGRB to introduce competition in the sector as well. This might actually even lead to industry consolidation, but for the CGDs, this kind of removes a big litigation on their head, and therefore this should be construed positively. In fact, Citi says that higher competition will not even risk larger players like IGL and MGL. Watch out for these stocks, could be active in the session today. So this is another one that you should keep in mind. Then BHEL was active yesterday, saw a reversal too, has won a 3,500 crore project order from Adani Power for thermal power project in Chhattisgarh, could be in focus. Not as large for KPI Energy, but they've won a 26 megawatt order. This is about 125 odd crores, therefore, for executing solar power projects, could be in focus today. Bhagirath Chemicals, R.K. Damani's firm Derive Investments has bought about 43 lakh shares in trade yesterday. The stock was up 20% already, so bear that in mind, but it may start off well today, and therefore you might see this stock active too. A very small stock on which I saw a story on our site, which is Kothari Industrial Products. I would urge you to be very careful with this one. Kothari's 7 crore market cap, but it's one, the stock is wrong. This is not Bhagirath Chemicals, by the way, it's Kothari Chemicals. Let's remove this plate. But Kothari Industrial Products effectively has signed a project pact with a French company to bring the Kickers brand to India. Apparently it's very famous. I haven't heard it, maybe you have. So watch out for Kothari, but it's a small company. Please be careful if you're trading this one. And also be careful if you're trading some of those beneficiaries, presumed beneficiaries of a new TDP government, because the last 2-3 days, Heritage Foods, KCP, etc., Ramco have all gone up. Now, some of these might have a really strong business case to do. All I'm saying is, please do your numbers. The stocks, in all probability, will be much higher 6 months out than what they are right now, some of them at least. But you need to know why you're buying them. I got a lot of messages yesterday from people saying we bought into Heritage because it's a Chandrababu Naidu company. It's probably the most wisest decision to do. But please also look at the numbers of some of these stocks before you get into them, just to monitor the kind of allotment or allocation that you're doing to some of these names. But yeah, these businesses might be very active, and therefore you need to keep an eye out for them. Ramco, KCP, like I said, there was also Heritage Foods, which is up 19%. Amara Raja, because the promoter of the company is an ex-TDP MP, not a current one, but an ex-one. So these stocks have been very active. Just be careful if you're trading them on the allocation that you do. If you know your numbers well, then please go out lock, stock, barrel and buy them. All I'm saying is do a little bit of a study before you allocate money there. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. Have a great day ahead.